house looks really long, but I promise. Oh, yeah, the lights.
Is there a light switch we can turn down?
So, where you can see like the peaks, yeah.
There we go.
The right-hand half is actually a attached garage, two-car garage, and there's like a bunch of storage space up above. So that entire side is not livable square footage. I just thought that was important to then move forward with the numbers for the rest of my presentation. So the livable square footage is just the left-hand side, and then the basement is only below that. So to tell you a bit about the progress that we've been making, and I hope to continue this, I started with a consultation for free with a clean energy coach through New Yorkers for Clean Power, and I actually met with Tom Conrad. He was very helpful, where we got to discuss what kind of issues we might be having, which at the time was a dying oil furnace, and what our goals might look like. And he suggested that the very most effective, financially speaking, place to start was insulation. But considering our furnace was really making some scary noises, we wanted to move on heat pumps as fast as possible. So we contacted Energy Conservation Services. Just to give you quick numbers, is about $4,000 is what we spent to get the rim joist, some spray foam insulation added. So that's the basement, you know, the I don't know, what do you want to call that? The perimeter ceiling of the basement. We did already have the old pink awful insulation in the basement ceiling. I really hope to replace that in the next few years. It's literally falling down. But the other great item that I am thrilled we paid for relatively cheap, I want to say $500-600, was the attic access, a door that is insulating. So I got quick pictures, and I'll come back to that. So that's my basement before the spray foam, and then after. And I got a nice close up here. And then there's my attic. So I've got one of those drop-down ladders. There's the ceiling, the door, nice insulated door. And I tried to like pop it open there, but it really just looks like it's into the abyss. But having that attic door especially, you go into that room and there's no cold draft anymore. And the guy, after both insulating works were completed, did the post blower door test for the house. It was over 25% less of a draft going through the whole house. And I unfortunately can't remember what kind of cost savings he said, but we've seen it, and I'll show you that in a minute. So back to this. As I said, working with, trying to get heat pumps. We got a few quotes, but we ended up going with Polar. They gave us a more custom option for our house's needs, and that ended up including decommissioning the oil tank, which I think most everybody would offer you. They removed our really old AC that was original with the house, 1989, and the air handler. And then they installed for us this 5-ton heat pump, which they're kind of funny about the BTUs. They give like a range for each, but I estimated about 46,000 BTUs. And then they put a new air handler. There's a strip heater for really backup super cold weather. We very, very, very rarely have used it so far. And we decided for a part of our house that we rarely use to add a mini split heat pump, which is 15,000 BTUs. So then there's a couple other little bonus pieces of info there. So moving forward, that's our old stuff. It looks so beat. I don't know if you can tell in the pictures, but it was nasty. And now, yeah. And now our new stuff.
Ooh.
So there's number one there. That's the big 5-ton heat pump, and it connects into a new air handler that connects into our original air vents throughout the house. So we didn't have to gut the house to get all this work done. It's wonderful. And you can see it's up on like a ground at a piece, keep it up from any running water and such. And then the second one is the mini split, and you can see poking out of the right side along the house and then up. That's where it connects pretty immediately through the wall into a living and dining area that we just don't use that much. So we turn it on when we have company over, and that's about it. Oh, I think we're missing. I had one more slide.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Tell us.
So, okay, the last slide, I'll do it best to my memory here. Without all the juicy numbers. Basically, we were previously spending on our Central Hudson bill, so this is prior to 2023, about $230 a month. That went up to now about $310 a month. But we were spending for our heating oil about $3,000 per year. So when you calculate your heating oil spending plus your electricity bills throughout the year, we're saving at least $2,000. So that's very happy for that. And I can absolutely attest to this past winter and last winter where we've had almost 0-degree cold and ice covering the house, and the heat pumps, no problem. They've worked through it. You know, we're a little more cautious once you get to the high of the afternoon. Try to tell the heat pump to stay a little bit higher so you can be cozy all through the night, just in case. And really to make sure that that strip heater doesn't kick on, because the strip heater, that will jump your electric bill. Yep. All right, that's all I got. Thank you very much.
And so now we've got some experts who will be able to help you figure out ways that you too can do all of this and more for your own home. So unfortunately, Tom Conrad is not with us tonight, but we have Mike Murphy, who is the lead energy advisor with Cornell Cooperative Extension Agency, and also with the Mid-Hudson Energy Hub. And we also have Jim Greenhall, who is a retired science teacher and also an energy coach and EV specialist, and Judith Karpova, who is an energy auditor and an energy coach, and she has extensive history and knowledge of tightening your own home and making it more energy efficient. So I'd like to start off with Mike Murphy.
Maybe just stand, right? Yeah. Hi, how are you? I'm Mike Murphy. I'm the lead energy advisor for the Mid-Hudson Regional Clean Energy Hub. And I'm also the energy advisor for Ulster County, Cornell Cooperative Extension. We have the contract through NYSERDA for education and outreach, specifically targeting, specifically our focus is with modest and moderate income individuals, as well as, including fixed income, those seniors on fixed incomes. And that focus is legislated through the Climate Act with a lens on environmental justice and equity, so that the benefits of the clean energy transition are equitably distributed throughout all income levels. I deal a great deal with the Empower Plus program that NYSERDA operates, and it's also programs with Community Solar, and advise my colleagues in the other 6 counties throughout the Mid-Hudson region on how best to do outreach and educational programs. I have worked with a number of seniors and individuals in communities nearby, right here, mobile home communities. I believe it's most important to preserve our community fabric, that we not be, that our homes are valuable places. Places not just of financial value, but places where we, just boxes within boxes, where once we fill them with love, they become homes, not just houses. So that focus, I think, is appropriate and is, like I said, legislated through the Climate Act. I've worked with, right now I have upwards of 250 clients. Each one of them is I work with each of them on a case-by-case basis, get to know them, and consider it a great privilege to be invited virtually most of the time into their homes and help them with building science through building science principles. I have the same credentials that many of the contractors, including Judith, has. We focus on insulation and air sealing first, energy conservation, energy efficient appliances, energy efficient lighting, and then clean heating and cooling systems. And I like to preach energy sovereignty. If we can take control of our energy use and then provide our own energy on site, then we're most stable and strong as people, as individuals in our community. We take control just like Victory Gardens. World War II, we have Victory Gardens on our roofs or in our yards, made of solar panels to produce the energy that we need. I am available for questions on an individual basis. Like I said, much of my work is individual. I talk to people extensively about their homes and how best to approach projects within them. And it's snowballed. I started with very few clients, and now I have so many that Jim said that perhaps they should clone me, and I said, I think that's a really bad idea, Jim. But I do have over 10 years in residential construction under my belt, and also, oddly enough, over 10 years in the classroom in public schools, teaching ecology. So I come at the job with pretty well-rounded level experience.
Hi, I'm Judith Karpova. My claim to fame is crawling around in attics, crawl spaces, basements, sometimes, hitching myself around on roofs. I've been very hands-on. I've been an energy auditor for almost 20 years. I've probably done over about 700 home energy audits. And I'm an energy coach down in for Westchester, for Bedford 2030. So my philosophy over this time and with what I've seen in homes is, I really love that metaphor of Victory Gardens on the roof. Energy is a very political issue, and wherever you stand, there's no escaping that. Are we independent or are we not? And if not, what are we dependent on? And what is the cost of that dependence? How much of our tax money gets put into subsidies for going all over the world, possibly interfering in other nations' governments to extract energy, versus producing it right here at home, right off your roof. Having the transportation line be, halfway across the world, or having it be like, 15 feet. So there's political implications and there's climate implications. What have we got in the United States? My cheat sheet says it says 86 million individual single-family homes in the United States. Yeah, we have multifamily homes as well, but only a third of them are more than 20 units. So we're really on a micro level. We're really home by home by home by home. I mean, I kind of look at it the way I look at gardens. Every single bee, every single caterpillar, every single insect, every single bird add up. And every single home adds up. And that's how you do it. You chip away at it one by one by one. So I think as homeowners, let me ask you, how many people have had home energy audits? Okay, so you basically already know what I'm going to, talking about. I'll just run very quickly through the basic building science. To me, before you get to solar, before you get to heat pumps, you button up your house. And it happens at the top because you're forcibly heating air, and it becomes buoyant, it rises, it tries to push its way out the top, and that's where you stop it to keep heated. And that's just heated air. Heat itself will move from hot to cold in any direction. So you air seal the top of the house. You air seal your attic floor or your attic slopes. You do your rim joist. Izzy, where's Izzy?
Over here.
Yay! She did a rim joist. That's where the framing of the house transitions from your concrete basement to your wooden framing. And it's always facing the outdoors, and it's always a source of leakage. So you button up the top, and you seal the rim joist. And then, because air can't escape from the top, well, when it does escape from the top, it has to pull air in from the bottom to replace itself. And you block those 2 points. And you've done maybe 90% of what you need to do in that house. But what you've also done is you've sealed in indoor air contaminants.
Mhm.
And this is kind of like, almost like, it's really kind of a catastrophe. Because I've audited a lot of rentals. And a lot of them have been subsidized rentals, HUD rentals. And the federal government, I'm sorry to say, does not have a good track record in protecting low-income communities. It does not have a good history. And it continues, and in general, there is a continuation of the policy in rentals of not really having a good inspection before an apartment or a home is allowed to be rented. And to me, as a building scientist, you have to get rid of the contaminants inside the house before you can close it up. So you can't just jump right into sealing up your house and going to a heat pump and going to solar. You have to make sure you can breathe in your house, or people are gonna get sick inside the house. So I just want to make people aware. To me, I kind of operate at a very crude level. I go in an attic and I see really gross stuff. I see old fiberglass that the mice have been nesting in for 20 years. And all of that turns into little fine particles. And if your attic floor isn't sealed, all that sifts down into your breathing air. So the whole process I was describing before of air out the top, air pulling in from the bottom, yeah, that's what happens in winter. In summer, that reverses. So what are you really having here? You're having air moving through the house from bottom to top and top to bottom. And what is that air carrying with it? So for anyone here who's hesitating on getting rid of fiberglass in their house, get rid of it. The more air moves through it, the more it disintegrates into tiny micron particles. I think it's 53 microns for fiberglass. That'll get into your lungs. I'm rambling a little bit, but I really wanted to issue that warning. And I also wanted to say just about the importance of chipping away at buildings one by one. 30% of our greenhouse gases comes from buildings. And, you know, we have a huge older building stock. The average building in this country is from the actually the early 80s. We're not gonna rebuild our way out of this. We're gonna have to do retrofits, and we're going to have to be mindful of doing them safely as well as efficiently to prepare the foundation for heat pumps, which then mean that you can have, you have a smaller heat pump array and a smaller solar array. And I'm going to turn this over.
I don't need it.
You don't need it. He's a teacher.
Oh, I'm a retired science teacher. I'm used to talking to a big audience, so if you can't hear me, just tell me to speak up. I'm a volunteer for New Yorkers for Clean Power to talk about clean energy, anything. If you have one person to talk to Mike. Mike covers everything. But anyway, I'm here to talk about electric cars. I could talk to you about anything you want, but electric cars. Raise your hand if you drive an electric vehicle. Okay, so quite a few of you drive electric vehicles. I wanted an electric vehicle, but I was outvoted for the longest time. And a colleague of mine, Samrat Patanya, many of you may know him, he bought an electric car. And we taught together. He would come and have lunch in my classroom, and one day he just said, "Oh, I'm gonna do it." I said, "Well, you're gonna do what?" He went to the back of the room, he went on a smart board, and in 5 minutes he had a Tesla. Okay? So he had a Tesla, he ordered it. Aren't they expensive? Aren't they, you know, I just didn't know, I was a science teacher, but I didn't know that much about it. And it wound up, he paid less than my wife and I paid for a Subaru Outback. So we bought a Subaru Outback right before he bought his Tesla. And he brought his Tesla in just to show his kids. In the class, they went out to the parking lot and looked at it. And then they came to me and they said, "How do we know his car is better than your car? You drive a Subaru Outback. Everybody loves Subarus. They're a great car." I'm like, "I don't know. I don't have the answer." I said, "But we're smart people. We can figure it out. Let's find some reliable information, not just any random thing. Let's find some reliable information." Well, it turns out, believe it or not, our tax dollars go to pay scientists to do good work. And one of the things they do, the EPA has a website called fueleconomy.gov. And if you went to fueleconomy.gov, you can find all sorts of information. But anyway, what they said for 2024, the average car gets 28 miles per gallon. Now, a lot of people have cars that get greater gas mileage, but pickup trucks get about 20. So on average, it's 28 miles per gallon. The average person in America drives 14,263 miles. Not 264, 263. Well, it's an average, but anyway. At 28 miles per gallon, that's about 500 gallons of gasoline. So Americans on average purchase 500 gallons of gasoline. Right now it's $3 a gallon. So you're spending about $1,500 a year on gasoline. Most people don't know how much they spend on gasoline because you put in $40 here, $50 there. It doesn't add up over the course of the year, but that's what we're spending. If you're one of the people that raise their hand and you charge an electric vehicle at home, it's about $1.20 a gallon. It's the equivalent of paying $1.20 a gallon. If you told people who drive gas cars, "Hey, go across town, it's not $3 a gallon, it's $1.20. You would have people crossing state lines to get gas for 120. Whenever the gas prices go up, you hear it. Oh, in Pennsylvania it's cheaper. Whatever. Okay, so anyway, just the pure economic argument, that's a $600 savings. Sorry. It costs $600 to charge an EV at home versus $1,500 for buying gasoline. That's a $900 savings. So you could save $900 a year. That's chump change, $900 a year. Nobody wants that. Why bother with an electric car? Okay, well, yeah, it adds up. Not only that, electric cars have fewer moving parts. They have a lot fewer moving parts. They require less maintenance. Now, the Subaru that my wife got, she said, well, we have to keep the warranty. Every time we were up for a visit to the dealership to have maintenance on the car, we followed by the letter what they recommended. We did that, keep the warranty up. That cost, over 5 years, that was $1,000 a year. For oil change is nothing, you can change that on your own. But after a while, yeah, you need to replace this, you need to replace that. On average, we saved, because we bought an electric car, we saved on average $1,000 a year on maintenance. And then because we drove more than the average person, we were saving $2,000 a year on gas. One car, $3,000 a year. That's a significant economic argument. Okay, thank you, Mike. Here we go, round two. Now for the environmental argument. My kids were looking on the EPA website, and there's a tab that says energy and the environment. And they were looking at my Subaru. They said, your Subaru produces 342 grams of carbon dioxide per mile. What does that mean? 342 grams of carbon dioxide. And then the kids said, well, in chemistry class, we had the mole box. And the mole box, I don't know, raise your hand if you've ever seen the mole box. There's a handful of people. So the mole box, in chemistry, chemists keep track of all the different chemical reactions by keeping track of moles instead of pounds, which is inconvenient when you're dealing with molecules, moles. And the mole represents an amount. So every time we burn 1 gallon of gasoline, this is just chemistry. It's like math. 2 + 2 = 4. Every time you burn a gallon of gasoline, you produce 202 boxes of carbon dioxide. And one of my kids said, wait a second, that comes out of your tailpipe? Like, yeah. So we looked at it, we crunched the numbers, we talked about it for days. They're like, well, how far do you live from school? And I told them, reach out for their calculators. They're like, you're producing 540 of these boxes a day. Every day you commute to and from work. They just come out of the tailpipe. They're invisible. We don't see them. And if you don't see it, it's not there. We're not afraid. So anyway, my Subaru was producing 7 boxes a mile. 7 boxes a mile. I had a Toyota Tacoma for a plow truck, 10 boxes a mile. Full boxes are kind of hard to wrap your head around. We all know what these are. That's only one bag. I'm not going to dump the other one. 43 gallon jugs to drive 1 mile in my Subaru Outback. That comes invisible out of our tailpipe. We don't see it. We had, in my classroom, we had something called a solar bag. I don't know if you know what a solar bag is. Imagine a garbage bag that runs the length of this room. So what you're supposed to do is run with it, put some air in it, you tie it up, and the sun heats it, and then because the air expands, it floats up in the air. Like, one of the kids said, hey, what if we put the solar bag on your tailpipe of your Subaru? Okay, field trip, out to the parking lot, put it on the tailpipe. I said, you guys tell me when it's full, I'm gonna go in and start it. As soon as I started the engine, they said, stop! It's full. We have no idea. We have no idea what we're doing to the environment. 43 of those jugs just for one Subaru to go 1 mile. It's not made up, it's science. If we look at the average driver, wait, I forgot this. Do you know what this is? Okay, it's a kettlebell. This is a 20-pound kettlebell. Every time we burn a gallon of gasoline, the CO2 weighs 20 pounds. How is that even possible? That's crazy. That's gotta be fake news. Well, a gallon of gasoline weighs 6 pounds. Carbon dioxide takes 1 carbon atom out of the gasoline and combines it with 2 oxygen atoms. So the carbon dioxide we produce is 20 pounds for every gallon of gasoline we burn. When you hear on the news, oh, danger, danger, so many tons of CO2, what idiot comes up with tons of CO2? Oh, the scientists who know that 1 gallon of gasoline produces 20 pounds, so that would be, where am I? The average driver, 500 gallons, that's 5 tons. So the average driver in US produces 10,000 pounds of CO2. That's 5 tons. So when you see these crazy astronomical numbers, they didn't come from nowhere. It's simple math, it's chemistry. But nobody knows. People aren't paying attention. I don't know. The mole boxes, I love the mole box. So the average driver produces 100,000 of these. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm above average. I like to think I'm above average. So it turns out my students, and teachers don't work all year long, they're like, wait a second, I was producing 120,000 of these a year, and teachers don't work 365 days. They're like, wait a second, how long have you been teaching? 4 million, just commuting. In my job, before I retired, I produced, and I'm sorry, I apologize, I've contributed 4 million of these. The kids said, 540? Wow, what if we could see these? Wouldn't that be great? I said, yeah, imagine my surprise. I commute to work, and my car is spitting these things out, and on the way home, I see them in the ditch, and I'm like, what idiot did that? Why are there so many boxes in the ditch? And the kid said, well, what about the throughway? If you were one car, what would the throughway look like after 1 day? The throughway, you wouldn't be able to see. It would be just packed. But we can't see it. It's invisible. So, I probably didn't warn you there was going to be a quiz, but here's the quiz. How many stars are there in the Milky Way galaxy?
A bunch.
A lot. That's the best answer. Okay, so it turns out that it depends on the astronomer you talk to, but it's around 400 billion. 400 billion. Well, the jugs. The average driver, 100,000 moles, 600,000 jugs a year. That's the carbon dioxide we're releasing in the atmosphere. 600,000, and that's the average person. This is one person. Americans in 2024, the Federal Highway Administration said Americans drove approximately 3.2 million miles. I'm sorry, trillion miles, 3.2 trillion miles. If we drove 3.2 trillion miles, how many jugs of CO2 are we releasing? The answer is more than stars in the Milky Way, more than stars in the Andromeda Galaxy, many more. People say, well, plants will take it up. Okay, you see, plants have taken over, right? The plants have they've swallowed up society. Cities are gone. I don't know if you saw it on the news, but the cities are gone. The plants are taking over. It turns out the plants can't take what we produce. And real scientists doing real work in a closed-in greenhouse inflated the amount of CO2 to see how much extra the plants can take in, and the answer is not a lot more, because they've evolved for millions of years to take in the CO2 at the concentration of our atmosphere the way it's been before we started burning things. If I sound like a cranky old man, I'm sorry, I've just retired, and these things are hitting me kind of hard. But people, I want to commend, I can't believe all the great stuff that I saw coming from the towns, from the leadership, coming from the people in the community who said, hey, we want solar, we want EV chargers, we want these things, we need home energy audits, we need to get the information out there. Everybody in this room should be commended, because you're here to make a difference, and you've been making a difference. We just need to get the word out further. Doing everything for your home. Yeah. I've done similar things, so I could talk about that too. It's just one last thing. Judith mentioned, and I think Mike mentioned, energy independence. We hear about it. Our politicians beat their chest and say, we want energy independence. That's not energy independence unless you count independence as, oh, I can independently keep buying from somebody else the fuel. If you get it delivered daily for free and your solar panels soak it in, I don't pay anything for gas. I brought the Molebox home to show my wife, and I explained what the kids figured out, and she's like, okay, we're trading in the Subaru and getting an electric car. Yeah, as soon as you can. If you don't drive electric, your next car, make your next car electric. It's worth it. It makes economic sense. It makes environmental sense. The science of it, you don't hear about this, but gasoline engines, an internal combustion engine, turns about 22% of the energy in gasoline into moving you from point A to point B. 22%. Okay. Yeah, where's the rest go? Heat. It's wasted heat. That's why you have a radiator. An internal combustion engine produces a lot of heat. By the way, the power companies producing electricity, a thermal power plant, 60% of the energy is wasted as heat. They need millions and millions of gallons to take away that excess heat. That's steam engine technology. We don't have steam trains anymore. We don't use whale oil. It's time. It's time to go. It's time to drive electric. It's time to put solar on your house. It's time. Yeah, I'll stop talking now. I get going. And by the way, Gardner Library, Wild Ones. Shout out to Wild Ones.
Yep.
They did a winter sowing thing.
Yep.
I went to winter seed sowing.
Yep.
I went to, so the jugs now get cut in half. We put pollinated plants.
Yep.
So,
Okay. That was fabulous. I really enjoyed that. That was a great way to wrap things up. But we also want to give you an opportunity. If you want to come up and talk with Judith, with Mike, with Jim, about anything that they discussed today, set up an appointment, glean a little bit more information from them. That's what they are here for. It wasn't just for you to listen, but also come up and talk to them, please. Yeah, so we're going to give you an opportunity to get a little bit more of the refreshments, come up and talk to them, and then in probably about 10 minutes or so, we'll do the raffles. And thank you so much. Enjoy.
Budget this time, go around and take his bags with him, throw them all over the classroom. It is. Well, that's real. Right there in your face.
There are some desserts over there. There's some oatmeal cookies, some pumpkin butterscotch brownies. There's also some coffee, some apple cider, and some tea.
Say it again.
Cleanest description. It's all about juice, but not about the absence, not about the other.
Just to get some vague sense.
Paul, do you have an electric vehicle to drive me home?
I tell you what, I've got oxygen vehicles right here. This one and this one.
I have my internal combustion engine waiting.
Oh, boy. No, I drove my internal combustion engine over here as well, so. Oh, you got it.
I say get a smaller car. There'll be a time. And we end up with this conversation. I can't get to my repair. So it's the 600. Since I buy a Tesla, it's still a half hour. Stop somewhere. It's my distance for the Tesla. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is time.
Well, hopefully there'll be some other companies.
I hope so. Right, that's right. Let Elon Musk disappear in his computer.
Listen up, gods,
Yeah.
to what Fred just said.
Okay, we're getting ready to do the raffle. If there is anyone who did not fill out a raffle ticket, this is your last chance. You have approximately 1 minute. I do not see anyone voting.
Yvonne has 2 of them. That
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start the raffle. Who's gonna pull out the raffle? Oh, we do have a volunteer. So the first raffle is for a $25 gift card from Beck's Hardware Store up at the Cherry Hill, on Cherry Hill Road. Pull out one raffle ticket. Can you read it? No? Okay. And it looks like Deborah Clinton. Okay.
Thank you.
There you go. All right, and the second raffle is for a dinner for two powered by Plants Consulting. That is Rebecca Carucci, who prepared much of tonight's food for us. And that one goes to Jeff, begins with a G. I am going to butcher it.
Got the number?
Huh? Okay, it is number 70. Yep, there we go. All right, here you go. Thank you.
To take in probably.
All right, and then we have 2 pounds of bird-friendly coffee, 3 pounds of bird-friendly coffee. No, I was right. I can count. 2. Oh, and it is bird-friendly because it is grown in shade, diverse habitat where the birds can nest. A lot of our summer songbirds, they winter where this coffee is grown, and they're rapidly declining because they're losing habitat, not just up here, but where they winter. So, and that goes to Nancy Rybaco. All right. You're very welcome. And then we also have, this was just donated by Lynn Cherry. She is a local artist and author. And this is a lovely book on the life of a wood thrush. Authored and illustrated by Lynn Cherry. And that goes to, looks like Valeria. Big winner. You're good. You're fine. Okay, a twofer. And then finally, we have a basket of cheer donated by Fox and Hound Wine and Spirits in the Tops Plaza.
Grand prize.
The grand prize, and that goes to, can you read that one? It does, it has P. Timmons. Do we have a P. Timmons? Ooh. Well, thank you so much for coming. I hope that you found it to be enlightening, inspiring, and informative. This event was co-sponsored by New Paltz Climate Action Coalition, Interfaith Earth Action, New Paltz Climate Smart Gardner, Marbletown ECC, and I'm missing someone. I think there was another.
Yeah.
Rochester Climate Smart, that was the one.
Thanks for all your work.
It was sponsored by New Paltz Climate Action Coalition, Interfaith Earth Action, Climate Smart Gardner, New Paltz Climate Smart, Rochester Climate Smart, and Marbletown ECC. Well, you got the grand prize. Thank you. I heard that Mars just changed from retrograde I think I have it. We'll see.
Make the announcement at this rate,
Oh.
and that they can take it on their way out.
What is it? You know what's up there. We're gonna party.
Yeah.
Oh, I do.
Franco may be able to.